Jacob Hayes stared at the blinking red alert on his console, his heart pounding like a drum. The research station, floating silently in the vast darkness near Proxima Centauri, was falling apart. Alarms blared in the background, their shrill tones echoing through the narrow metal corridors. Jacob's fingers danced over the keyboard as he tried to stabilize the failing systems, but nothing seemed to work. The screens flickered, and error messages flooded his monitor. Something was wrong, very wrong. Rachel Monroe rushed into the control room, her blonde hair tied back in a loose ponytail. She looked frazzled, her face pale under the dim emergency lights. "Jacob, what's happening?" she asked, her voice tight with worry. "I don't know," Jacob replied, his tone sharp with frustration. "The energy readings are off the charts. It's like something out there is messing with us." He pointed at one of the monitors showing jagged lines spiking wildly. "Whatever it is, it's not natural." Rachel leaned over another console, her hands moving quickly as she ran diagnostics. "The core temperature is rising. If we don't fix this soon, the whole station could go critical." She glanced at Jacob, her blue eyes filled with fear. "Did you send the distress signal?" Jacob nodded. "I sent it hours ago. No response yet. This part of space is so remote. It's a miracle if anyone even picked it up." He sighed and rubbed his temples. The weight of their situation pressed down on him like a heavy blanket. They were two scientists, alone on a crumbling outpost millions of miles from home. If help didn't arrive soon, they wouldn't make it. Just then, the lights flickered again, plunging the room into momentary darkness. Rachel gasped, clutching the edge of the console for support. When the lights came back on, both of them froze. On one of the monitors, an image appeared, a strange object drifting in the void outside the station. It was small, no bigger than a car, but its surface shimmered like liquid metal under the faint starlight. Strange symbols glowed faintly along its edges, pulsing rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. "What is that?" Rachel whispered, her voice barely audible. "I don't know," Jacob said, his eyes glued to the screen. "It wasn't there before. I think it just showed up." He adjusted the external cameras to get a better view. As the feed zoomed in, the object seemed to shift slightly, as though aware it was being watched. A chill ran down Jacob's spine. "We need to figure out what it is, and fast." Rachel hesitated, then reached for the comms panel. "Maybe we should broadcast a closer look. If anyone's listening, maybe they'll recognize it." Before Jacob could respond, the station trembled violently. Both of them stumbled, grabbing onto nearby surfaces to steady themselves. The monitors erupted in static, and the hum of the station's engines grew louder, more strained. Outside, the glowing object began to emit a low-frequency pulse, each wave sending vibrations rippling through the station. "This isn't good," Jacob muttered, gripping the edge of his chair. "It's affecting the station's systems. We're losing control." Rachel turned to him, her expression grim. "If we don't get help soon, we're not going to survive this." Her words hung in the air, heavy and final. Jacob clenched his jaw and activated the distress beacon again, this time including footage of the mysterious object. He typed out a simple message. *TO whoever receives this. We are in grave danger. Please send help. *. As he hit send, the station shook once more, throwing them both off balance. For a brief moment, Jacob caught a glimpse of something on the monitor, something massive, lurking just beyond the glowing object. But before he could focus on it, the screen went black. Silence fell over the control room, broken only by the sound of their ragged breathing. Somewhere out there, someone, or something, had heard their plea. Whether that would be their salvation or their doom remained to be seen. Commander Lucas Drake sat in the dimly lit cockpit of the Eclipse *, his boots propped up on the control panel. The ship was old, its metal walls scarred from years of hard use, but it was home to him and his crew. He sipped from a mug of lukewarm coffee as he stared out at the endless expanse of stars. Life on the edge of the galaxy wasn't glamorous, but it was free. And that was all Lucas cared about. "Boss," came a voice behind him. It was Elena Vega, the ship's engineer. Her dark hair was tied back in a messy bun, and grease smudges marked her hands and face. "You need to see this." She handed him a tablet displaying a faint signal they had intercepted. Lucas frowned as he read the message. A distress call. "From where?" "Proxima Centauri," Elena replied, crossing her arms. "Sounds like some kind of research station is falling apart. They're asking for help." Lucas leaned back in his chair, tapping the tablet against his knee. "That's a long way from here. Why should we care?" "They mentioned something strange," Elena said, her tone serious. "Some kind of object messing with their systems. Looked at the footage they sent. It's not like anything I've ever seen." Curiosity piqued, Lucas glanced over at Marcus Kane, who stood leaning against the doorway. Marcus was tall and broad-shouldered, with a permanent scowl etched onto his face. Once a soldier, now in exile, he rarely spoke unless necessary. "What do you think, Kane?" Lucas asked. Marcus shrugged. "Could be trouble, or it could be worth our time. Either way, sitting around here isn't doing us any favors." Lucas smirked. Always the optimist. He turned back to Elena. "Can the Eclipse handle the trip?" She rolled her eyes. "If I have to patch up one more thing, I'll scream. But yeah, she'll get us there." Lucas nodded, making up his mind. "All right, let's go play heroes for once. Set a course for Proxima Centauri B." The journey took days, during which the crew prepared themselves for whatever awaited them. Elena worked tirelessly in the engine room, ensuring the ship wouldn't fall apart mid-flight. Marcus cleaned and checked his weapons, his usual routine when anticipating danger. Meanwhile, Lucas studied the distress signal again and again, trying to piece together what the researchers might have stumbled upon. When they finally arrived, the sight of the station made their stomachs churn. It floated eerily in the blackness of space, its exterior battered and scorched. Parts of it looked ready to break apart at any moment. As the Eclipse approached, the station's lights flickered weakly, casting long shadows across its surface. "This doesn't look promising," Elena muttered, gripping the edge of her seat. Lucas guided the ship toward the docking bay, his jaw tight. "Stay sharp, everyone. We don't know what we're walking into." Once inside, the airlock hissed open, revealing two figures waiting anxiously. One was a young man with short brown hair and glasses, Jacob Hayes. The other was a woman with tired eyes and a determined stance, Rachel Monroe. Both looked relieved to see the newcomers but wary at the same time. "You're the ones who answered our call?" Jacob asked, glancing between Lucas, Elena, and Marcus. "That's right," Lucas replied, stepping forward. "I'm Commander Drake. This is my crew. Now, tell us what's going on before this place falls apart." Jacob hesitated, then gestured for them to follow. "We found something unusual. It showed up out of nowhere and started affecting the station. We can't explain it, and honestly, we're scared." As they led the group deeper into the station, Rachel chimed in. "It's interfering with everything. Our systems, our communications, even the structural integrity of the station itself." Elena raised an eyebrow. "Sounds like fun." Marcus shot her a glare. "Fun gets people killed." They reached the control room, where monitors displayed chaotic data streams and images of the mysterious object. Lucas studied it closely, his brow furrowed. Whatever it was, it didn't belong in this part of the universe, or maybe anywhere at all. "So this is your big problem?" Lucas asked, turning back to Jacob and Rachel. "It's worse than that," Rachel said softly. "We think it's alive." Silence fell over the room as the weight of her words sank in. Lucas exchanged a glance with his crew. They had signed up for danger, but this was something else entirely. Still, they were here now, and backing out wasn't an option. "All right," Lucas said finally, breaking the silence. "Let's figure out what this thing is. and how to stop it. The group gathered around the monitors in the control room, staring at the mysterious object outside the station. It floated silently in the void, its surface shimmering like oil on water. The strange symbols along its edges pulsed faintly, almost as if it were breathing. Jacob adjusted the camera feed to zoom in closer, but the image only became more distorted. This thing showed up out of nowhere, Jacob explained, his voice tense. At first, we thought it was just space debris. But then it started messing with the station's systems. Now it's like it's alive. Elena leaned forward, her sharp eyes scanning the screen. Alive? That's a big claim. What makes you think that? Rachel stepped closer, pointing to one of the monitors. Look at this. She pulled up a graph showing energy fluctuations. These spikes match the pulses coming from the object. Every time it lights up, something on the station malfunctions. Lights flicker, engines stutter, even the AI starts acting strange. Marcus crossed his arms, his expression skeptical. So, what are you saying? This rock is some kind of alien weapon. We don't know, Jacob admitted. But whatever it is, it's dangerous. And it's getting worse. As if on cue, the station trembled violently, throwing everyone off balance. The lights dimmed for a moment before flaring back on, bathing the room in harsh white light. Alarms blared again, louder this time, and the hum of the station's engines grew uneven, like a heartbeat struggling to keep rhythm. Great timing, Lucas muttered, steadying himself against the console. Any idea how to shut it down? Rachel shook her head. We've tried everything. Cutting power, rerouting systems, even trying to move away from it. Nothing works. It's like it's locked onto us. Elena frowned, studying the readouts. If it's affecting the entire station, maybe we need to get closer. See if there's a way to disable it directly. Jacob hesitated. Closer? Are you sure that's a good idea? It's better than sitting here waiting for the place to fall apart, Marcus said bluntly. Besides, if it's as smart as you say, maybe we can figure out how to talk to it. Lucas nodded. All right, let's suit up. We'll take a closer look. But stay sharp, this thing's already proven it can hit back. Minutes later, the team stood in the airlock, clad in bulky spacesuits. The suits were old but functional, patched together by Elena's steady hands. Lucas double-checked his helmet seal, while Marcus loaded a small handheld scanner into his belt. Jacob and Rachel joined them reluctantly, their faces pale beneath their visors. You two ready? Lucas asked, glancing at the scientists. As ready as we'll ever be, Jacob replied, though his voice wavered slightly. The airlock hissed open, revealing the vast emptiness of space. The station loomed behind them, its battered frame looking even more fragile from the outside. The object hovered nearby, its pulsing glow casting eerie shadows across the hull. Stay close, Lucas ordered, leading the way along the outer edge of the station. The silence of space pressed in around them, broken only by the faint crackle of their comms. As they approached the object, its presence felt overwhelming. Up close, it seemed impossibly smooth, its surface rippling softly as though liquid. The glowing symbols shifted and changed, forming patterns too complex to decipher. What do you think it wants? Rachel asked nervously over the comm. Maybe it doesn't want anything, Marcus replied. Maybe it just doesn't like us being here. Before anyone could respond, the object pulsed brightly, sending a wave of energy rippling outward. The force knocked them all backward, their magnetic boots losing grip on the station's surface. Jacob cried out as he tumbled through space, flailing desperately. Grab him, Lucas shouted. Marcus reacted quickly, firing a tether line from his suit. The cable snagged Jacob's leg, pulling him back toward the station. Everyone scrambled to reorient themselves, their hearts racing. That was close, Elena said, her voice shaky. Lucas stared at the object, his jaw tightening. Whatever this thing is, it's not just watching anymore. It's testing us. And it knows we're here, Rachel added quietly. The group regrouped, their resolve hardening. They had come too far to turn back now. Whatever secrets the object held, they were determined to uncover them, even if it meant risking everything. The team huddled together on the station's outer hull, their breath fogging the insides of their helmets as they tried to recover from the shock. The object loomed before them, its pulsing glow now more intense than before. It was clear it had reacted to their presence, and not in a friendly way. "What do we do now?" Jacob asked, his voice trembling over the comms. "It almost killed us." "We can't just leave," Lucas replied firmly. "If this thing is dangerous enough to knock us around, imagine what it could do if it gets loose. We need to understand it." Elena adjusted her grip on the scanner tucked into her belt. "Let me try something. Maybe I can get a reading on its energy signature." She stepped forward cautiously, her boots clicking against the metal surface of the station. The others watched nervously as she extended the device toward the object. At first, nothing happened. Then the scanner began to beep rapidly, its screen lighting up with streams of data. "It's alive," Elena said, her tone incredulous. "Or at least it's some kind of intelligent system. Look at these patterns. They're too organized to be random." Before anyone could respond, the object pulsed again, this time sending out a series of bright flashes. The light wasn't blinding, but it felt deliberate, like a signal. Shapes formed within the glow, shifting and rearranging themselves until they resembled humanoid figures made of pure energy. Rachel gasped. "Are those beings?" "They look like ghosts," Marcus muttered, gripping his weapon tightly. "Friendly ones or not, I'm ready for anything." The glowing figures floated closer, their forms flickering in and out of focus. They didn't speak, at least not with words, but a strange hum filled the comms, resonating deep in everyone's ears. It wasn't unpleasant, but it was overwhelming, like being surrounded by a chorus of voices all speaking at once. "I think they're trying to communicate," Elena said, lowering the scanner. "But we don't have the tools to translate something like this." Jacob hesitated, then raised his hand slowly, mimicking one of the gestures the figures had made. To everyone's surprise, the beings responded. One of them extended an arm-like appendage, and a burst of light shot toward Jacob. He flinched, expecting pain, but instead, he felt a rush of warmth spread through his body. "They're not attacking," Rachel whispered, her voice filled with awe. "They're reaching out." Lucas frowned, wary of the situation. Reaching out for what? What do they want? Elena studied the scanner again, her eyes narrowing. "They're using frequencies, mathematical patterns. That's how they're communicating. If I can sync our systems to match theirs, maybe we can talk back." "Do it," Lucas ordered. "But hurry. I don't trust them yet." Working quickly, Elena connected the scanner to her suit's interface, adjusting the settings to mimic the frequencies emitted by the beings. After several tense moments, a new sound emerged, a sequence of tones that matched the hum coming from the figures. One of the beings paused, its form stabilizing slightly. Then, it sent another burst of light, this time directly into the scanner. The device lit up with symbols and equations, far beyond anything human technology could produce. "They're sharing information," Elena said, excitement creeping into her voice. "This is incredible." But Marcus wasn't convinced. Incredible doesn't mean safe. These things could still turn on us in a heartbeat. As if to prove his point, the largest figure moved closer, its glow intensifying. This time, the message came through clearly, not in words, but in images and emotions. Visions of destruction flooded their minds. Stars collapsing, planets burning, civilizations reduced to ash. The sheer scale of it left them reeling. "They're showing us something," Rachel said, clutching her helmet. "A warning?" "No," Lucas replied grimly. "Not a warning. A threat. Whatever these beings are, they're telling us they've dealt with dangers like this before, and they won't hesitate to act." The group exchanged uneasy glances. For all their advanced intelligence, The beings were unpredictable, and while they hadn't attacked yet, there was no guarantee they wouldn't change their minds. "We need to figure out why they're here," Jacob said quietly. "And fast, because if they decide we're part of the problem." He trailed off, unwilling to finish the thought. Lucas nodded, his expression hardening. "All right, let's keep talking, but stay ready for anything. We're walking a fine line here, and one wrong move could get us all killed." The teen remained frozen, staring at the glowing figures as the visions faded from their minds. The images of destruction had been vivid and horrifying. Entire solar systems reduced to dust, civilizations wiped out in an instant. But amidst the chaos, there was one constant, a massive, shadowy form consuming everything in its path. It was clear now that the beings weren't just random visitors. They were guardians. "They're showing us something important," Elena said, her voice trembling slightly. "That thing. It's what they're protecting the galaxy from." Jacob nodded slowly, his mind racing to process what they'd seen. "It's like a predator, a cosmic force that destroys entire worlds." Rachel swallowed hard, her hands gripping the edge of her helmet. "And whatever that object is, it's connected to it. Maybe it's part of a weapon or a prison." Marcus frowned, his grip tightening on his weapon. "So, these shiny ghosts are the good guys. Hard to believe when they almost threw us into space." "They didn't attack us," Lucas countered. "They're testing us, to see if we're a threat or not. And right now, we're walking a tightrope." Elena adjusted the scanner again, trying to decipher more of the data streaming in. "Their signals are complex, but I'm starting to piece it together. They call themselves the Observers. They've existed for millions of years, watching over the galaxy and keeping this thing contained." "Contained?" Jacob asked, his voice rising. "You mean that shadow monster?" "Yes," Elena replied. "From what I can tell, they trapped it long ago using artifacts like this one. Each piece acts as a lock, holding it in place. But our experiments must have weakened the containment field." Lucas turned to Jacob and Rachel sharply. "Your research. You said you probed this object, right? That's what started all this." Rachel hesitated, guilt flickering across her face. "We didn't know what it was. We thought it was just some kind of alien artifact. We never imagined." "You woke it up," Marcus finished bluntly. "Nice job." Before anyone could respond, the largest of the observers moved closer, its glow pulsing with urgency. Another wave of emotions flooded their minds. This time, frustration and anger. The message was clear. Humanity's interference had put the galaxy at risk. "We need to fix this," Jacob said quickly, his tone desperate. "Tell them we didn't mean to cause trouble. We'll help however we can." Elena worked furiously to translate the sentiment into frequencies the observers could understand. When she sent the signal, the beings paused, their forms shimmering uncertainly. For a moment, no one spoke, the silence heavy with tension. Then one of the smaller figures stepped forward, its light softening slightly. It projected another vision, a map of the galaxy, with a single point marked near the edge of known space. The location pulsed ominously, drawing their attention. "That's where the Devourer is," Elena whispered, her eyes wide. "Still sealed, but barely." "The Devourer," Marcus repeated, raising an eyebrow. "Is that what they call it?" "It's fitting," Lucas muttered grimly. "Looks like we've got two choices. Either destroy the shard and hope it reseals the containment, or figure out how to strengthen it." Jacob shook his head immediately. "Destroying it might make things worse. If this is a lock, breaking it could release the Devourer completely. And strengthening it means trusting these beings," Marcus shot back. "How do we know they won't turn on us once we're done?" "We don't," Lucas admitted. "But sitting here arguing isn't helping. We need to decide. And fast." Rachel stepped forward, her expression resolute. "If we don't try to fix this, billions of lives will be at risk. Maybe even trillions. We caused this mess. We have to clean it up." The others exchanged glances, weighing their options. Finally, Lucas nodded. "All right. We'll work with the observers, but let's be smart about it. One wrong move, and we're all dead." As the group prepared to head back inside the station, the observers lingered nearby, their forms flickering faintly. Though their intentions remained unclear, one thing was certain: humanity had crossed a line it couldn't uncross. Now, they would have to face the consequences, together. Back inside the station, the group gathered in the control room, their faces grim as they processed what they had learned. The observer's warning weighed heavily on them. Humanity's interference had weakened the containment of a cosmic threat, and now time was running out. "We can't just sit here," Jacob said, pacing back and forth. "If we don't act, the devourer could break free. We have to do something." "But what?" Marcus snapped, throwing his hands up in frustration. "Blow the shard to pieces and hope it fixes the containment, or trust those glowing ghosts and try to strengthen it. Either way, it's a gamble." Elena sat at one of the consoles, her fingers flying over the keyboard as she analyzed the data from the observers. The shard isn't just a lock. It's part of a network. Destroying it might seal the devourer temporarily, but it could also destabilize the entire system. We'd be trading one disaster for another. Rachel leaned against the wall, her arms crossed tightly. "So, strengthening it is our only real option. But how? We don't even know what kind of technology we're dealing with." "That's where the observers come in," Lucas said firmly. "They've been doing this for millions of years. If anyone knows how to fix this, it's them." Marcus scoffed. "And you trust them? They threw us around like ragdolls out there. For all we know, they could decide we're too much trouble and wipe us out themselves." "They haven't done that yet," Elena pointed out. "If they wanted us dead, we'd already be gone. They're giving us a chance to make things right." Jacob nodded. "She's right. We caused this problem. We owe it to everyone to try and fix it." The room fell silent as tension hung in the air. Each member of the group wrestled with their own doubts and fears. Finally, Rachel spoke up, her voice quiet but steady. "What if we split the team? Some of us stay here to monitor the station, while others work with the observers to stabilize the shard." Lucas considered the idea, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. "Not a bad plan. Marcus, you're with me. We'll head outside and see what we can do. Elena, you stay here with Jacob and Rachel. Keep an eye on the systems, and keep the comms open." Elena hesitated. "Are you sure? I should be out there helping decode their signals." "You're safer here," Lucas replied. "Besides, someone needs to make sure the station doesn't fall apart while we're working." Reluctantly, Elena nodded. "All right, but be careful. Those beings may not take kindly to mistakes." Outside, the cold vastness of space greeted Lucas and Marcus as they stepped onto the hull once more. The observers were waiting, their forms shimmering faintly in the darkness. One of them floated closer, its glow pulsing rhythmically. It projected another series of symbols, this time accompanied by a low hum that resonated through their suits. "They're showing us how to interface with the shard," Lucas said, studying the patterns carefully. "Looks like they want us to connect directly." Marcus frowned. "Directly? You mean stick our hands into that thing?" "More or less," Lucas replied dryly. "It's risky, but if we want to stabilize it, we don't have a choice." With cautious steps, they approached the object. Its surface rippled invitingly, almost hypnotic in its beauty. Lucas reached out first, placing his gloved hand against the smooth surface. A surge of energy coursed through him, flooding his mind with images and sensations. He saw galaxies forming, stars dying, and civilizations rising and falling. It was overwhelming, but also strangely peaceful. Marcus followed suit, though his expression remained wary. As soon as he touched the shard, the hum grew louder, vibrating through their very bones. The observers moved closer, their forms stabilizing as they began channeling energy into the artifact. Inside the station, Elena monitored the readings anxiously. "Energy levels are spiking," she reported over the comms. "Be careful, you're pushing it too far." "We're fine," Lucas shouted back, his voice trained. "Just keep the systems stable." But as the process continued, cracks began to form, not just in the shard, but within the group itself. Doubts surfaced, tempers flared, and the pressure mounted. Each second felt like an eternity, and failure wasn't an option. Not when the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. The strain was becoming unbearable. Outside, Lucas and Marcus stood shoulder to shoulder, their hands pressed against the shimmering surface of the shard. The energy coursing through them felt like a living force, both exhilarating and terrifying. The observers floated nearby, their forms flickering as they channeled more power into the artifact. Inside the station, Elena, Jacob, and Rachel worked frantically to stabilize the systems, which were on the verge of collapse. "Energy levels are off the charts," Elena shouted, her fingers flying over the console. "If this keeps up, the station won't hold together." "We can't stop now," Lucas replied through gritted teeth. His body trembled under the strain, sweat dripping down his face, despite the cool air inside his suit. "Tell me you've got something to keep this place from falling apart." Jacob glanced at Rachel, panic in his eyes. "We need to reroute auxiliary power. It's the only way to buy us more time." Rachel nodded and sprang into action, her hands moving quickly over another panel. "I'm diverting everything I can. Just give us a few more minutes." Meanwhile, Marcus clenched his jaw, fighting to stay focused. The connection with the shard was overwhelming, filling his mind with flashes of ancient battles, collapsing stars, and endless voids. He could feel the weight of the galaxy pressing down on him. And for the first time, he understood why the observers had been so cautious. This wasn't just about saving lives. It was about preserving existence itself. Inside the station, alarms blared louder than ever, red lights flashing across every monitor. Elena slammed her fist against the edge of the console in frustration. "We're losing containment. If we don't stabilize it soon, the entire network will collapse." "Then we stabilize it," Jacob snapped, his voice rising. "Do whatever it takes." Lucas turned his head slightly, glancing at Marcus. "You holding up?" Marcus didn't answer right away. Instead, he took a deep breath, forcing himself to focus. "Yeah," he said finally, "but I don't know how much longer we can keep this up." As if in response, the shard pulsed violently, sending a shockwave rippling outward. Both men stumbled, nearly losing their grip. The observers reacted instantly, reinforcing the connection with bursts of light. Their forms grew brighter, almost blinding, as they poured more energy into the artifact. Back in the control room, Rachel let out a cry of relief. "It's working. The energy flow is stabilizing." "For now," Elena added darkly, "but look at the structural integrity readings. The station's hull is cracking under the pressure." Jacob stared at the screen, his heart sinking. "We can't hold both, the station and the shard at the same time. Something has to give." Elena hesitated, then straightened up, determination hardening her features. "Then we evacuate. We'll transfer everyone to the Eclipse *, and finish stabilizing the shard remotely." "No." Marcus's voice crackled over the comms. "If we leave now, the process will fail. The observers need us here. And if we stay, the station might tear itself apart." Elena shot back. "We can't risk losing all of us." Lucas stepped forward, his tone firm. "She's right. Marcus, we stick to the plan. Finish stabilizing the shard. Then get back to the ship. That's an order." For a moment, no one moved. The tension between survival and sacrifice hung heavy in the air. Finally, Marcus nodded reluctantly. "Fine, but make sure that ship's ready to go when we're done." Minutes passed like hours as the team worked tirelessly. The shard's glow dimmed slightly, its pulses slowing to a steady rhythm. The observers' forms began to fade, their job seemingly complete. Outside, Lucas and Marcus pulled their hands away from the artifact, their bodies trembling with exhaustion. "It's stable," Marcus muttered, his voice hoarse. "For now." Inside the station, Elena guided the group toward the airlock. "Get to the ship. I'll lock down the core systems before I follow you." "You're not staying behind alone," Jacob protested. "I'll be fine," she insisted. "Just go." Reluctantly, the others obeyed, rushing toward the waiting Eclipse *. As the engines roared to life, Elena made one final check of the controls before sprinting after them. Behind her, the station groaned ominously, its metal walls buckling under the strain. By the time she reached the airlock, the rest of the crew was already aboard the ship. Lucas grabbed her arm, pulling her inside as the hatch sealed shut. Moments later, the station collapsed in a brilliant explosion, debris scattering across the void. Silence fell over the cockpit as they watched the aftermath. They had survived, but the cost had been high. And though the immediate danger was over, none of them could shake the feeling that their journey was far from finished. The Eclipse drifted silently through the void, its crew battered but alive. The destruction of the research station still weighed heavily on their minds, but there was no time to rest. The observers had given them another task, one far more dangerous than anything they'd faced before. "We need to go deeper," Lucas said, his voice steady despite the exhaustion etched into his face. "The containment field is stable for now, but it won't last forever. If we don't deal with the Devourer directly, this whole galaxy is doomed." Jacob sat slumped in a chair, staring at the floor. "Deeper? You mean closer to that thing?" "Yes," Elena replied, her tone firm as she worked at a console. "The shard gave us coordinates, the heart of the anomaly where the Devourer is sealed. That's where we need to go if we want to reinforce the containment." Marcus leaned against the wall, his arms crossed tightly. "And what happens when we get there?" "Knock on its door and ask nicely not to eat us." "No one said it would be easy," Lucas shot back. "But sitting here isn't going to save anyone." Rachel spoke up softly, her voice trembling. "What if we can't stop it? What if it's already too late?" "It's not," Elena said firmly, glancing over her shoulder. "The observers wouldn't have sent us if they thought it was hopeless. We just have to trust the data and ourselves." Jacob sighed, rubbing his temples. "All right, let's say we do this. How do we even get close to something like that?" "It's not exactly a friendly neighbor." Elena pulled up a holographic map, projecting it above the center of the cockpit. "We'll use the shard's energy signature as a guide. It's part of the network holding the Devourer in place, so it should lead us straight to the source." "And then what?" Marcus pressed. "Do we fight it? Talk to it? Blow it up?" "I don't know yet," Lucas admitted, "but we'll figure it out when we get there." The journey into the anomaly was harrowing. As the Eclipse approached the coordinates, the ship was bombarded by waves of energy that distorted reality itself. Time seemed to stretch and compress. Colors shifted unnaturally, and faint whispers filled the air, though no one was speaking. "This place feels wrong," Rachel muttered, clutching the edge of her seat. "You're telling me," Marcus replied dryly, gripping his weapon tightly. "Feels like the universe is trying to throw us out." Elena monitored the controls closely, sweat beading on her forehead. "Hold on. We're almost through." With a final jolt, the ship broke free of the turbulence, emerging into a vast, empty expanse. At its center floated a massive, swirling mass of darkness, alive with shifting tendrils of light and shadow. It pulsed rhythmically, radiating an aura of both beauty and terror. "That's it," Jacob whispered, his voice barely audible. "The Devourer." The sheer scale of the entity was overwhelming. It dwarfed stars, its presence dominating the space around it. As the crew stared in stunned silence, tendrils of energy reached out toward the ship, probing gently as if curious about their presence. "It knows we're here," Lucas said grimly. Stay sharp. Suddenly, the ship's systems flared to life, displaying streams of data flooding in from the entity. Images and emotions poured into their minds, visions of endless hunger, destruction, and power beyond comprehension. But amidst the chaos, there was also a sense of loneliness, as though the devourer craved connection as much as it sought destruction. It's communicating, Elena gasped, her eyes wide. It's offering us something. What kind of something? Marcus demanded, his hand tightening on his weapon. Knowledge, Jacob murmured, staring at the screen. Power. Freedom. Lucas shook his head firmly. Don't listen to it. Whatever it's offering, it comes with a price we can't afford. The devourer's tendrils drew closer, wrapping around the ship without making contact. Its hum grew louder, resonating deep within their chests. For a moment, each of them felt tempted to take what was offered, to escape the weight of their burdens. But they resisted. We didn't come here to bargain, Lucas said sharply. We came here to stop it. Elena nodded, refocusing on the controls. Activating the shard's frequency. If we can amplify its signal, maybe we can reinforce the containment. As she worked, the devourer reacted violently, its tendrils lashing out. The ship rocked violently, alarms blaring as systems began to fail. Hurry, Marcus shouted, bracing himself against the wall. I'm trying. Elena snapped, her fingers flying over the console. With a final surge of effort, the shard's energy burst forth, enveloping the ship in a brilliant glow. The devourer recoiled, its form flickering uncertainly before retreating slightly. It's working, Jacob said, relief breaking through his fear. We've got it contained, for now. But Lucas knew better. This wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. The glow from the shard faded slowly, leaving the cockpit bathed in dim emergency lighting. The Eclipse groaned under the strain of the encounter, its systems flickering as if on the verge of collapse. Outside, the devourer had retreated slightly, its massive form still pulsing with ominous energy. But it wasn't gone. It was waiting. We did it, Jacob whispered, his voice trembling with exhaustion and disbelief. We actually contained it. For now, Lucas corrected sharply, his eyes locked on the swirling mass outside. That thing isn't defeated. It's just held back. And we all know it won't stay that way forever. Elena slumped in her chair, her hands shaking as she ran diagnostics on the ship. The containment field is stable, but barely. If we don't reinforce it soon, it'll break free again. Marcus stepped forward, his face grim. Then what's the plan? We can't keep running back here every time it acts up. Lucas hesitated, glancing at his crew. He knew what needed to be done, but saying it aloud made it real final. One of us has to stay behind, he said quietly. Someone needs to manually activate the shard's full potential to seal the containment permanently. Silence fell over the room, heavy and suffocating. No one spoke. They all understood what staying behind meant. Sacrifice. There would be no escape once the process began. I'll do it, Marcus said suddenly, his voice firm despite the weight of his decision. All eyes turned to him, surprised but not entirely shocked. Of everyone aboard, Marcus had always been the one willing to face danger head-on, even when it scared him. No, Jacob protested immediately. It should be me. I'm the one who started this mess. I should finish it. You're a scientist, not a soldier, Marcus shot back. You'd never survive out there long enough to finish the job. This is my fight. Rachel shook her head, tears welling in her eyes. There has to be another way. We can't just leave you. There isn't another way, Marcus interrupted gently. And if I don't do this, none of us are walking away. Lucas clenched his jaw, guilt gnawing at him. He wanted to argue, to find some alternative, but deep down, he knew Marcus was right. Someone had to make the ultimate sacrifice, and Marcus had already accepted it. Finally, Lucas nodded. All right, but we're not just abandoning you. Elena, prep the shuttle. We'll get as close as we can before pulling out. Hours later, the team stood in the airlock, preparing for their final goodbye. Marcus adjusted his suit, checking the equipment strapped to his belt. The shard rested securely in a containment case, glowing faintly with residual energy. "Take care of yourself," Elena said softly, her voice thick with emotion. She handed him a small device, a recording module. "Make sure your story gets told. You deserve to be remembered." Marcus managed a faint smile. "Thanks. Just don't screw it up, all right?" Lucas stepped forward, extending his hand. "You're doing something incredible. Don't think we'll ever forget that." Marcus shook his hand firmly. "Just get everyone home safe. That's all I care about." With a final nod, Marcus stepped onto the surface of the void, the devourer looming ominously in the distance. The others watched through the viewport as he approached the artifact, his figure growing smaller with each step. When he reached the shard, he placed it carefully into position and activated the sequence. A blinding light erupted, engulfing the area in an intense glow. The devourer recoiled violently, its tendrils lashing out in desperation. But the containment held, reinforced by the shard's power. One by one, the tendrils dissolved into nothingness, until only silence remained. Back aboard the Eclipse Asterisk, the crew stared at the empty space where Marcus had stood. Tears streamed down Rachel's face, while Jacob bowed his head in quiet respect. Elena clutched the recording module tightly, vowing to honor his memory. "He saved us," Lucas said finally, his voice low but steady. "Now it's our job to make sure his sacrifice wasn't in vain." As the Eclipse Asterisk turned away from the anomaly, heading back toward Earth, the weight of their loss settled over them. They had survived, but the cost had been immense. Still, they carried hope with them, the hope that Marcus's bravery would inspire others to stand against the darkness, no matter how overwhelming it seemed. The Eclipse Asterisk limped its way back to Earth, battered and scarred, but still flying. The journey was quiet, each crew member lost in their own thoughts. The weight of what they had witnessed, and the sacrifice Marcus had made, hung over them like a storm cloud. They had saved the galaxy, but it didn't feel like a victory. It felt like survival. When they finally arrived, the ship docked at a space station orbiting Earth. News of their mission had spread quickly, thanks to the distress signal Jacob and Rachel had sent earlier. Reporters and scientists swarmed the docking bay, eager for answers. But the crew wasn't ready to talk. Not yet. Jacob and Rachel were whisked away by a team of researchers, their data and findings treated as the most important discovery in human history. The mysterious shard, though depleted of energy, became the centerpiece of countless studies. Humanity now knew they weren't alone in the universe, and that knowledge came with both wonder and fear. Elena stood on the observation deck of the space station, staring out at the curve of the Earth below. She held the recording module in her hand, Marcus's voice echoing softly in her mind. "Make sure my story gets told," he had said. And she intended to do just that. "Hey," Lucas said, stepping beside her. His usual confident demeanor was gone, replaced by a quiet weariness. "You holding up all right?" Elena nodded, though her eyes remained fixed on the planet. "I will. It's just hard to believe it's over." "It's not over," Lucas replied firmly. "Not really. We stopped the devourer this time, but there are probably more threats out there. Things we can't even imagine yet." Elena turned to him, her expression thoughtful. "Do you think we're ready? As a species, I mean." Lucas shrugged. "We don't have a choice. We'll figure it out, or we won't. Either way, we can't stop exploring. If we do, we might as well give up." She smiled faintly, appreciating his honesty. "You're right. Still, I wish Marcus could see this. He gave everything so we'd have a chance." "He did," Lucas agreed, "and we owe it to him to make the most of it." Weeks passed, and life began to return to some semblance of normalcy. Jacob and Rachel became reluctant celebrities, their names appearing in headlines around the world. They used their newfound fame to advocate for caution and responsibility in space exploration. "We've seen what's out there," Jacob told a packed auditorium during one speech, "and if we're not careful, we could destroy ourselves, or worse." Rachel echoed his sentiments, emphasizing the importance of understanding alien technology before using it. "Curiosity is our greatest strength, but it can also be our greatest weakness," she said. "We need to learn from our mistakes." Meanwhile, Elena threw herself into her work, designing new systems based on the Shard's technology. Her designs caught the attention of Earth's defense networks, who recruited her to help prepare humanity for future encounters with extraterrestrial threats. She never forgot Marcus, ensuring his story was included in every presentation she gave. As for Lucas, he quietly retired from command, handing over leadership of the Eclipse to a younger pilot. He bought a small house near the ocean, far from the chaos of space travel, but he didn't forget what he had seen, or the people he had lost. On clear nights, he would sit outside, staring at the stars and wondering what else lay hidden in the vastness of the universe. Though the scars of their journey would never fully heal, the survivors carried hope with them. They had faced the unimaginable and emerged stronger, not because they were fearless, but because they had chosen to fight despite their fears. And as humanity looked toward the stars, inspired by their courage, they proved that even in the face of overwhelming darkness, light could still prevail.